Where the heck? Slow mode is on. Oh, what the heck? Can you guys see this? What the heck is slow mode? Good, I can see it. I don't know what slow mode is. It says slow mode is on. I don't know how I did that, but I can see you guys, so it don't matter. How you going? So, oh wow, the big news. I've been still trying to unpack that Kotkaniemi deal. I don't know what Montreal should do here. I don't know if it was even a good idea for Carolina to do it. What do you guys think? I just did the video for our players to be traded. I'll post it tonight. But that's really the biggest thing right now. They think Carolina sends them a little. Apparently, the Kotkaniemi deal. Well, the fact that Carolina did offer sheeted Kotkaniemi. Match it. With a problem, I think the biggest problem with this is that apparently Kotkaniemi doesn't want to stay in Montreal. That's the biggest problem with this whole mess, is apparently he doesn't want to stay in Montreal. And what I think Carolina will do, if they take the picks, is they'll sign him to a long-term contract. Now, Montreal would probably be willing to sign him to a long-term contract at that number. But I don't think he'll sign it. Well, it's in his best interest, but if he doesn't want to be there anymore, he doesn't want to be there anymore. That's the problem. From what I understand is in the conversation, somehow Carolina got wind that Kotkaniemi didn't want to be in Montreal anymore. And they were trying to work out a deal. They were trying to work out a deal with Carolina, and Carolina sounds like they were lowballing them, but we don't know what they were offering. Montreal wouldn't take the deal. Obviously, it was more than a first and a third. And Montreal wouldn't take it. I suppose they could still work out a deal. Montreal doesn't match. They take the first and the third. I mean, his stats weren't bad. For a 21-year-old, he's a solid two-way center. Solid two-way center. So, I mean, he's easily going to make the $6 million in his career. Like, he'll be a $6 million player, I believe. I really like him. I don't know what happened in Montreal, what he's not happy about or whatever. I don't know. If that's the case. So there's a whole bunch of stuff to unpack with that deal that I don't, like, if he's totally happy there, does he really sign the deal? A 1 year, $6 million? And that I don't understand. I mean, that's the thing. Like, what did he not like in Montreal? Because he's a center in Montreal. He probably isn't going to be a center somewhere else. If he's willing to sign long term in Carolina at $6 million, then I guess It's really tough. I maybe because of taxes too. They signed the 1-year deal. Montreal lets him go. Then what? Then as soon as they let Kotkaniemi go after losing Danault, they now their leverage for another center is pretty poopty. I guess though they were looking at Dvorak. Yeah, like if I'm Kotkaniemi, and like you say Carolina is going to play him on the wing on the second line. Why would I want to go there? You're not going to make. I mean, I don't know. Something happened in Montreal. Yeah, I know it's lower taxes, but something happened in Montreal. If Montreal, it does put Montreal in kind of a tight spot. I would probably match it. Oh, it's tough. Like you want to match it and maybe trade him somewhere else. Hey, Terry and Kim, how you doing? Terry Pagula. Welcome in. We're talking about the Kotkaniemi situation, and I'm just trying to unpack it in my head. I have been trying to unpack it in my head for a while. I mean, let's put it, I know what I got to say here. What I got to say is that Montreal was already in a bad spot. Montreal was already in a bad spot because obviously he didn't want to sign long-term there. Yeah, and that might have been it. It might have been because they were healthy scratching him down the stretch. So he's looking at it like, well, you know, what is. Okay, that may be it. He might be butthurt about getting healthy scratch there down the stretch. And I don't even know if it's butthurt so much, but maybe he's thinking like, what kind of a contract am I going to pull on these guys if they're healthy scratching me, especially if they're going to use that. Montreal apparently was saying they were trying to give him like 2.2 or 2.5 million, and on a short-term show-me contract, and he, I guess he kind of went like, well, I'll show you then. I guess I can get 6 million over here. That guarantees him at least 6 million on his next contract for Carolina, for if he goes to Carolina. But yeah, apparently they want Dvorak. I don't know. That's the rumor. But if they let Kotkaniemi go, Arizona's going to be smacking their lips like, all right, now we got leverage here because they need him now. They're probably going to want Montreal's first. And Montreal better hope that they're good. So they get Dvorak. Is Dvorak that much better? Dvorak is just an older version of Kotkaniemi, really. Which is good, I guess, but that's basically, I mean, he's, what, 25 years old? No, if Montreal lets him go, they're on, Carolina's taking that contract. They can't negotiate lower. No, that's not true. People don't know. I know. If you offer sheet someone 6.1 million for a year, you got to pay them 6.1 million, and then next year they're going to have to give them they're going to have to qualify them which I believe will put him in about 6.6 million to start. So minimum 6.6 or something like that. Hey, Bill, how you doing, bud? I mean, Carolina, I mean, if Kotkaniemi, sucks, Carolina could really get burnt in this. Or they could just let him go. Just don't qualify him and then let him go. So they end up having a first and a third, giving up a first and a third but I don't believe that. I think Kotkaniemi is a really good player. At 21, I think he's done a lot. Yeah. And then he can go wherever he wants. I think he's a good player. I would want to sign him. I would not be unhappy at all to sign him for what they are saying, for the $6 million. Like, give him a long-term contract at about that price point. I wouldn't be opposed to that. I think it's a gamble worth taking. Great teams win gambles. They take high percentage plays like that, and it works. Colorado, look at Colorado. Some of the contracts they've given, and they just end up having, bargain basement contracts. I don't think it's an unrealistic price. I don't know what people were watching out there, but I don't know what people are watching out there, but I saw a kid that was doing just great for a 21-year-old. He's only 21, man. I thought he was doing great. Yeah, he'll get his points. Maybe Carolina's thinking that they want to drop the $6 million for a long term on him, maybe. But what if Kotkaniemi puts up the points in Carolina and then goes, okay, now I want Aho money or something like that? Then what? Then you're gone. Yeah, like, that's the thing I'm saying. Like, Kotkaniemi goes to Carolina. Svech just signed for 7. So he's not going to get more than Svech. He's buried. He's not going to get more than 7. Yeah, he's very likely to improve. He's doing at his age, at 21 years old, he is doing very well. Very well for a 21-year-old. Yeah, I don't see that deal. What's Calgary going to give up for Eichel? Yeah, I'm just going by his projected, based on how his skill level now. I see him like, his ceiling is like Mikko Koivu, something like that, somewhere around there. But just a solid two-way guy that puts up 40, 50 points. I mean, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. So if they pay him the $6 million, and Sean Monahan for Eichel. So Buffalo, there'd be another GM that would need to get fired for that. Sean Monahan for Eichel? My gosh. I wouldn't even want Monahan in the deal. He's been so bad. I wouldn't even want him in the deal. You could put Monahan plus, and I'd be like, I don't want Monahan. Give me something else. I don't want Monahan. I'd take Backstrom over Monahan. But, I mean, they'd want more than that. You got to have Calgary's first. I don't know what the heck Calgary's going to offer. You'd stop. If it was straight across, that would be terrible. Oh my gosh. That would be absolutely terrible. Monahan's got a no trade clause too. He can nix the deal in a heartbeat. Even if he wanted to be part of the deal, do you think Monahan's going to say yes to going to Buffalo? Probably not. I don't know what deal. If they believe he's healthy, it's going to cost their first next year for sure. But that tells you how bad this roster is I can't really put together. Johnny Gaudreau maybe might go there because he's from sort of that area. But overall, I don't see a deal here that makes sense for... Oh yeah, it was Connor. It was Zary. Connor Zary. Connor Zary, Valimaki, a first, and I don't know. Their depth is going to be totally destroyed after that trade. Who had who for the Habs to be traded? I don't know what you mean. Who had who for the Habs to be traded? I don't know. Apparently, Rask has said that he's going to sign a cheap deal and he'll play whatever they let him play. So I don't know how much of an opportunity he's going to get. It's all going to depend on how good Allmark and Swayman do. If they're crushing it. Oh, videos for players to be traded. Our video. Drouin, Kulak, Sherratt, and Byron. I just finished the video from Anaheim to Montreal on this. Paul Byron, yeah. I haven't posted it yet. I'm going to post it tonight. I had to do a couple takes on it. Now you can put Kokaniemi on there, I guess, but it's very interesting. Now I don't know. I wonder what Carolina was offering before they offer sheeted them. Yeah, I mean, they could definitely do that. They could definitely trade somebody to match it. But the question is, does he want to be there? The thought out there is that Kokaniemi doesn't want to be a Hab anymore. He doesn't want to be a Hab. So he's not going to sign a long-term contract. I don't know if he's pissed because he didn't get played in the playoffs or what, but if they wanted to, they could trade. Yeah, they can make up the space. If they really want to do it, they can make up the space. Well, yeah, I think the whole thing about Eichel going to Calgary, though, is that it's a three-way deal, and Tkachuk goes to St. Louis, so he wouldn't have Tkachuk there. So that rumor that Tkachuk was going to go to St. Louis is there. By the way, that little jar up there on the top, that's going to be a tip jar. I'm trying to figure out how to do it. Donation jar. And it will be. Right now, it's just kind of floating there. Can't use it, but it will be. Yeah, they'll wait till probably the last second. Very interesting. But now, one thing I think Bergevin can do is he can use it as leverage. Because that's $6 million a year. They could go and talk to other teams out there, let the agent talk to other teams, and see if there's any other teams that want to go long on that. And they could then match it and trade him somewhere else. So they could put it out there and say, look, do you want to go long on Kotkaniemi? And let's say, I'm sure there's lots of teams out there that would be interested in that. And they maybe be able to make a trade for another center. Hey, CL, how you doing? Maybe to Washington for Kuznetsov. Kuznetsov plus, because Washington can't get rid of Kuznetsov. I guess you'd have to make sure he's clean before you pick him up. But, you know, so I'm just throwing things out there. Like, Detroit Red Wings need a center really bad. Maybe you could get Fabry plus or something like that. And maybe you could trade him to Kotkaniemi. I don't think you could trade him for Dvorak, though. I'm thinking you might as well you could still get Dvorak somewhere down the road. But I'm thinking instead of getting a late first from Carolina and a third, call around and say, hey, okay, it's going to be a $6 million deal if I sign it. I'm going to sign it, and then do you want Kotkaniemi at 6 and talk to his agent and see if they'll do a long-term extension, and we'll work out a deal. Because he doesn't want to be in Montreal anyways, so there's no use signing him there. If you pissed him off enough, he doesn't want to be there. Ottawa Senators, maybe, yeah. But he's got to agree to a long-term deal to wherever he goes, right? So you're losing some leverage. What are you going to get back in the Ottawa deal, though? They're going to want a center right now. I don't think Ottawa is a good fit for that. Interesting, but what if the Calgary Flames that I just mentioned? Because you don't have much leverage there, maybe you want to give Monahan a chance. Monahan plus. The Calgary Flames would probably be happy to pay him that kind of money. Give him a long term. Is he willing to go to Calgary? I don't know. He's got to work out a deal. Maybe he goes to everybody and says, no, I want to go to Carolina. I'm signing a long-term deal with any of you. Then you're screwed. Then you got to pretty much go the Dvorak route. No, he's been okay in Ottawa. I wouldn't call it good. Yeah, I don't see who we would get in Ottawa. That's the only thing I can think of. Nashville, you could get maybe Granlund plus something else. But like I said, he's going to have that's the leverage that these players have now, is they can simply just go and tell them, no, I'm not signing long term with you. It's almost like having a no trade clause now these days for players, because he's 21. He'd be married to that club, and Montreal can say, you know what, you can take him, and then if he says he doesn't want to sign a long-term deal with you, but maybe if he's been there a few years, he'll be okay. Another one, maybe he would be interested in Colorado, because Colorado could use another second-line center. Yeah, for Seattle's sake, he better pan out, because that'll be bad news if they don't if he doesn't pan out there. I'm not totally sold on him, but I don't mind the move for Seattle. It's worth the risk. At the very least, he's an NHL goaltender. He may not be top notch, but he's an NHL goaltender. What do you mean he won't keep Palmieri? So he won't take Palmieri? Lou's trying to work something out. I think Lamoriello's will look at every option he has, but I'm pretty sure he wants to get a score for Barzal. They may already have it there in Wallstrom, but I'm pretty sure he wants to get a veteran goal scorer. Somebody who's going to has a playoff pedigree. It depends on how much Palmieri wants too. If he's going to play for the Islanders, he'll probably have to take less than he would get somewhere else. Palmieri, you're here. That's what Friedman is saying. I'm going to check out if I can see anything here. Oh my gosh, Griffin Reinhart signs with the EIHL, the English League. 27 years old. He's signing in Belfast. Oh my gosh. That's crazy. Griffin Reinhart, a first-round pick, is playing for the Belfast, whatever they're called, Belfast Giants, at 27 years old. That is a big fall. Holy crap. That's weird that anything would come out from Lou Lamoriello on something like that. I imagine if anything leaked like that, Lou Lamoriello did it basically to tell, oh, Atu Ratu? I don't know. He had a horrible year last year, Philip Bridgman. He had a horrible year. That's why he fell down to the second round like that. He's got to bounce back quite a bit. I don't know if it's maturity issues or what it is, but he was supposed to be, there was the year before last, they were touting him as the number one, first overall for this draft possibly. And he fell down to the middle second. I can't believe Griffin Reinhart is playing that low. I thought he at least played in the KHL or something. Yeah, well, we'll see. Atu Ratu, maybe they played him in the men's league a little too early or something. I mean, he's still got to have a lot of talent there. It's just what I think sometimes what happens, I mean, especially with young players, is they start believing the noise and they think they're good and then they don't become good, you know? So he's got to get back to working hard, I would think. I'm guessing here. I'm just totally guessing. I don't know what his actual problem is. Well, Nail Yakupov was just was an attitude right out the get go. He thought he was like he was an attitude. Ratu apparently, I don't know if he's an attitude or whatever, but sometimes you just stop trying a little bit. You know, you think, okay, you made it, when you haven't made it even close yet. The jump from being one of the best junior or young, 17-year-olds in the world to being an NHL player is still pretty huge. Yeah, well, that was the year before last, but last year he wasn't even selected for the World Juniors. Is he improving in the KHL now? I didn't know because he went through like several teams in the KHL. I think he's on his fourth team in the KHL now. I'm gonna go live here on my YouTube or my TikTok. I mean. Oh, the Olympics coming up with an agreement? No, I didn't talk about it. It was inevitable. The Olympics like to push them around like they think, like, I don't know. It's pretty funny. The hockey doesn't need the Olympics. The Olympics need the NHL players. It's absolutely enormous for the Olympics to have NHL players there. For hockey, it's a big pain in the butt, really, and they don't even. If it wasn't for the players, they wouldn't even be going. Yeah, it sure puts them on a stage to a certain extent, but they're not really playing NHL hockey. They're playing big rink Olympic hockey. I think the World Cup is a better stage than Arizona's going to go back to their old rink for a year. It sucks. They're going to have terrible attendance, but if they're going to stay there, they have no choice. I mean, it's not like you can just magically produce an arena. So back at their old place, yeah. Yeah, it was inevitable they were going to come to an agreement. As long as the NHL wants to go, the Olympics would. They can, I mean, within reason, the Olympics will push them around a bit. So I'm just looking things up here, you guys. Oh, the rent will get paid. The rent will get paid. They're not going to have a lawsuit. They're behind on the rent, yeah. They're just not paying them because they don't really have to. You don't like it? Well, okay, I'm out of here. It's terrible, but that's the truth. That's in business and stuff like that. Yeah. It's sort of like a big guy like that. It's like the last thing he worries about is paying the rent on that arena. They're not making any money. They're losing money every year. So if he can work it out that he doesn't, he can have his money invested instead of throwing it in that rent for a bit, he'll do it. And then when they don't want to do it anymore, he'll pay up whatever so he doesn't get sued. Maybe. Some guys don't even do that. They'll just wait for the lawsuit if they get it. Hope they don't get a lawsuit, cut their losses or whatever. Then they'll go to the other one. I mean, the guy is like bleeding money. He probably, I'm sure the food's on the table, no problems, but he's still bleeding money. Hey, thank you very much. Somebody just sent me a rose on the. Who's going to start? Probably start at Mrazek first, I guess. Or go 50-50. They'll go 50-50. Whoever's hot, then they'll go there. I think Campbell will win that. Oh, yeah. Arizona will make it eventually. I'm pretty sure Arizona will make it eventually. Once they have an arena and a place where people can go, will actually go watch it, which is once they're in Kempe. But now they're going to be totally rebuilding. it's going to be 4 or 5 years before they're competitive. But it's such an uphill battle. But they keep on staying there. Oh, I don't agree with that. That's what they said about LA. That's what they said about San Jose. It's what they said about Florida. Hockey's awesome. As soon as people realize or find out what it's about, once it gets in there and they get to watch it, people are going to love hockey. Guaranteed. John Gibson needs to be traded like pronto. I'm so tired of them holding on to them. It's ridiculous. I don't even know how Bob Murray has a job. Unless, I don't know. I don't know what the owners are saying or believe in or what they, I don't get it. Apparently they did have a deal for Manson. Thanks for coming in on TikTok. We're just talking hockey here. They had a deal for Manson to Winnipeg for a first and a prospect. And I don't know who the prospect was, but that's what the asking price for Manson is a first-round pick and a prospect. And Winnipeg is the only one that gave him, well, I don't know if they're the only one, but Manson nixed the deal. Oh. Manson nixed the deal. He didn't want it. He didn't want to go to Winnipeg, which is fairly understandable, especially if you're like been living in Anaheim for however many years. Hey, NHL memes, welcome everybody into the stream. We're talking. I can't do shout outs and stuff like that. I'm doing a live stream here as we go. Absolutely, Demko will be the starter next year. I think if it wasn't for Vancouver's poor defense, I would say that he's in Vezina territory this year. If people are willing to take into consideration that Vancouver has a poor defense, then he may be. I think Demko's a beast. I think Demko could save Vancouver for how poor the defense has been constructed. I wish Edmonton had Demko. The question is he going to be able to hold up? I don't think Halak's going to play a lot. I'm going to say that he brings them to the playoffs and maybe beyond. He doesn't need much of a team in front of him to win. I think they're going to be in trouble in Vegas. Like, I don't know. We'll see what Lehner does. Lehner has the capabilities of being a number one if he can just keep his head in the game. But there's no way that Vegas team made it to the final. It makes it to the final the year that they did without. What about Chicago? ? There's no way Vegas makes it to the finals that year without Fleury. Maybe two other goaltenders in the league could have brought them there. If you had an average goaltender in there, there's no way. Yeah, I do believe Chicago's going to the playoffs because of Fleury. I do. I think Jones will be allowed to play an offensive game, which for him is what he needs. I think Tortorella made a big mistake trying to turn that guy into a shutdown defenseman. It's not what he is. Boston, the Stanley Cup Finals? Not with that defense, I don't think so. The Blues aren't going to make the playoffs this year. The Blues aren't making the playoffs this year. No way. I don't think the Wild are going to make it either. The Blues for sure are not going to make the playoffs this year. You got a healthy Taves. Doc is going to be a beast this year. Wild, I'm not so sure about the Wild. I love their coach, and he may bring it in. He may bring him in there, but I'm not 100% sure about the Wild. I don't like if they lose anybody out of their top 4 defense, I don't like who they brought in. I don't like Kulikov. I'm not a fan of Kulikov. Susie is who they brought in. I like Goligoski. That was a nice move. But I think Susie's a big loss. Is Talbot going to have the same year as he did last year? Maybe. I think probably Minnesota makes it because Evason is such a good coach. But that's why. If you had a different coach in Minnesota, I don't think they make the playoffs. That lineup. They're too thin up the middle. You got Rask as your second line center. Rask as your second line center. It's just, they're extremely well coached. I'm just that high on Fleury. So that's why I say goaltending is, hey, how you doing? That's why I say goaltending is the most important thing in hockey to me. And if Fleury plays the way he did in Vegas, I mean, they don't need to score much. And they can score a lot in Chicago. I think Minnesota, let me look at it. NHL divisions. So Colorado makes it. Winnipeg probably. Minnesota and Chicago. Colorado. Maybe. Dallas, maybe. Dallas probably should. So Colorado, Dallas. I don't think St. Louis. It's going to be between Winnipeg, Minnesota, and Chicago. And I think Chicago can make it in. It's going to be tight. It would be tight, I'll give you that. But if Hollaback plays like he did before, then maybe Winnipeg makes it for sure. I'm not sold on the defenseman they picked up in Dallas. I'm not sold on Schwartz or whatever his name is. That I don't know. But then it is tough because Maurice sure has a way of getting the best out of defensemen. Dallas Stars, I mean, Dallas Stars, can they stay healthy? That's the big thing with the Dallas Stars. If they stay healthy, they should be in for sure. But Yeah. I just had Dallas up here. What do you do? A, B, C. Oh, shoot. Did I miss Dallas when I did that? I did. I did my video and I left Dallas out. Crap. Why did I have Colorado twice? Columbus, Colorado. I forgot Dallas in the video. Crap. Oh well. I'm not doing it again, so I guess I missed Dallas. You got Radulov is hurt already before he even gets started. Tyler Seguin, is he ever going to get back to where he was before? Jamie Benn has slipped every single year almost for the last little while. I don't know. I think they could be in trouble. I like their defense, though. And I love Ottinger. But it's going to be tight. I think it'll be tight. Chicago might not make it. It's possible. It's hard for me to say that with Fleury. I don't know. Yeah, Robertson, Gurianov really has he improved all that much so far? He's so inconsistent. When he looks good, he's great, but that's few and far between. The Robertson kid's fantastic. I like their defense, but they got so many geezers up front. If they could be in trouble if they stay healthy, but okay, see you later. Paul Maurice needs a cup, yeah. I think they're good enough to make the playoffs. I don't see them winning a cup, though. Unless Hellebuck goes right off the freaking rails. I don't see them winning a cup. Be like, yeah, their top 9 is really good, but it's Nate Schmidt. That's who I'm thinking of. Nate Schmidt. That's the big question mark for me. If Nate Schmidt doesn't improve over his last 2 years very much, this defense isn't good enough. Josh Morrissey's not a number one. They don't have a true number one defenseman. And Pierre-Luc Dubois has got to improve a lot more than he did. He would have to be pretty. No, I really think there's a lot of question marks for that Dallas Stars lineup. That injury. Radulov was already injured. He's 36. He was injured a lot of last year, wasn't he? He's been known to have his injuries. How many games did he play last year? Yeah, he only played 11 games last year. Sagan barely played last year. He had a brutal injury. He's got to come back off of that. And Jamie Benn's been declining. That's supposed to be their first line. Now, Robertson, Hintz, and Pavelski's probably definitely good enough for a first line. But Kiviranta, Glendening, and Raffle as your fourth is okay, I suppose. Lindell didn't have a great year last year, but I like him. In that division, it's a could make the playoffs roster. It's not a for sure could make the playoffs roster. I don't think, because that's a tough division. They could. Radulov could come back healthier than ever. Sagan could come back healthier than ever. But usually when old guys have injuries that keep them out that long, they never end up being back getting as good as they were before, usually, especially at 35 years old. They had a ton of injuries, yeah, absolutely. And most of them were their old guys. And they usually don't come back. If your younger guys have some injuries that are like fluke injuries, that's okay, maybe a little different, but yeah, Bishop is done. I think Bishop's pretty much done. Hey, how you doing? Whoever you are. Thanks for talking hockey here. Thanks for coming on, TikToker. So anyways, for the next hour after this, we got to talk about another theme that we're going to do for our next video. But I got a lot of video content now. I got another video to do after this. Oh, that's right. I didn't forget Dallas. I got another video to do after this. So, because I only did the first half, but I was thinking maybe we'll do trade proposals for some of the players we had on there, like the best player, a trade proposal video. Like we'll take one player from our trade list and we'll make a trade proposal. Something like that. That'd be cool. You got to go in 20 minutes? Wow, we got to go talk to the doggies for a bit. So when you come back, you'll have about 15 minutes. And I'm going to go a little early because I've run out of things to talk about. So I'm going to put it up now, and we'll be back in a bit.
Greetings. This is Steel Flyers from the Steel Flyers All Sports Network, and we have two very special guests. We are delighted to be joined by Tracy Musser and Nicole Howard from the Canine Country Club Resorts. Tracy and Nicole are both managers for CCC Resorts and work at the Windsor or at the club, one of two locations, both in Manheim, Pennsylvania. Congratulations on your 30th year anniversary of being in business. Let me start off by saying this. Steel Flyer stands behind this company 100%. They've taken care of Steel Flyer's furry friend for the last 2 years now, and they are a one-stop shop for everything your furry friend needs. In fact, let's find out what our friends at CCC Resorts offer. Nicole, how are you today?
Good. How are you?
Doing great, thank you. What are some of the great boarding services that you guys offer, and what do we have to do in order to get our furry friends taken care of when we are unable to travel with them?
Well, we like to bring everybody in for a tour first. That way they can see the behind the scenes, they can see where they stay, they can see where they play, and then we explain all of the fun things that we can add on to their reservation, whether it be one of our packages, either a nature walk, a ball time, or even a cuddle time.
Oh, wow, that sounds great. Boy, it sure sounds like a resort to me. So, how are you today, Tracy?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Tracy, tell me, is it true that you guys have both an indoor and an outdoor pool at the Windsor location?
It is true. We've got one of each, so we're able to offer year-round swimming. The indoor pool is a great option for dogs who are swimming for therapy or rehab. It's got that sloped entry so they can wade into the water. Our outdoor pool is a little bit larger and it's 4 foot deep the whole way across. And both of them are saltwater pools, so it's really easy on the dog's skin and coat.
Wow, that's very awesome. So then during the summer months, you have a much deeper pool outside and then a sloped entry shallow pool indoors for the dogs. Tracy, tell the folks how we can get some pool time.
Well, the first thing everyone does is come for an intro swim. We use that time to make sure the dog is comfortable in the water. We make sure they know how to get out of the pool safely, and we go over all the pool rules and etiquette with the clients as well. After that, they're able to schedule private appointments where they have the pool to themselves, or they can invite friends and have a whole group swim going on.
So after a dip in the pool, then it would have to be off to the groomers, right? I mean, our furry friends cannot go out looking their best. Nicole, what are some of the great services your top notch groomers provide?
Our groomers, they specialize in full service grooms. We can do the basics, whether it be just a bath and a brush out or a blowout. Or for the extra pampered pooches, we can do nail dremels, we can do deodorizing soaks, and also facials.
Wow, man, that sounds like a resort if you ask me. Tracy, I know one of the main programs here at CCC Resorts is the WAGS program. The Steel Flyers dog is enrolled in this program. So why don't you tell the folks what is involved in this and how they can get enrolled?
Yeah, the WAGS program is our primary daycare option at the Windsor. It's designed to be a structured program for people who are looking for a set routine for their dog. They all come on the same days each week, which allows them to have set friends, and we know exactly what's going on with each group. So we do a little bit more activities and we build more into their daily routine there. But we've got other daycare options as well for people looking for a little less commitment. We do an hourly care where you can drop them off and just pay by the hour. We also do a day stay option, which is great for the dogs that prefer human friends instead of making friends with other dogs. And then we have a traditional daycare option as well if you're looking for the occasional outing for your dog.
Wow, there you have it. A full service groomer, a daycare program, and an indoor and outdoor pool. What more could you ask for? Sure seems like CCC Resorts has everything covered. Remember, DOG, depend on God.
No, it's not the same as the last video. Those were who was going to get traded. I was talking about doing a trade proposal. So like, uh, so I say Manson, and then we say, where he's going to go and who he would get traded for, something like that. Yeah. You know what I mean? So like I would say we would take one person from, I wouldn't say it's beautiful to some people, I suppose. Oh my gosh. I'll be right back. Sorry, I can't stand cold coffee. Okay, so that's what we'll do. So we'll take a player from every team and we'll trade them somewhere. And it doesn't have to be a player on our list. Like, I could just ask you, what would you do if you were Anaheim? Which is what we're going to do right now. So we could take a team. What would you do if you were Anaheim? And we could propose a trade for each team. Like, for Anaheim, we'll take, like, say, Raquel. Where would you trade Raquel? I heard the Islanders might be interested, and what would you want back? Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, don't you at this point just keep on rebuilding? Does it really matter if you get a good forward? Their team is so far away. Like, it's so far away. My main concern would be just keep one veteran that you believe is great at bringing up these kids to be a... what the heck was Shattenkirk? Because their power play wasn't good. That's why. They picked up Shattenkirk to help the young players on the ice with the power play. That's what Shattenkirk was for. So, like, do a trade. Figure out a trade. First of all, which direction do they want to go? Like, well, he's not very good anymore. He doesn't make any sense either at $5 million there. Like, just to say that he's there. Like, I just don't understand that team at all. I don't understand that team at all. Bringing up Anaheim. I think you'd want to find a player that can play now, a player like a prospect that's almost ready now. And I would do like a big package for him or something. But who? Raquel has not played well the last little while. He's basically a rental unless the team can sign him long term. That's the whole thing, is they don't have all that much. Manson's also a UFA after this year, so they waited too long. Raquel, yeah, New Jersey. What are you going to get? Raquel to New Jersey. I think after getting Tatar, not sure there'd be much room for him in New Jersey. I think the Islanders would be a place possible for Raquel. I think the Oilers, but they would have to give money back. It'd have to be some team that doesn't need to get. It's only 1 year, so they could retain and make it so they could do that. If New Jersey's in it at the deadline, I wouldn't trade him until the deadline. And then teams that are like in it and need scoring, and you could retain just to get the highest draft pick you could possibly get. Which could be a lot of teams. My off the top of my head, I'd say the Islanders. Bring in Solani to advise what the team needs. Oh. Hi, Dominic. How are you? Your other phone broke. Oh. No, you'll never get that much. Are you kidding me? Ty Smith in a first for Raquel? I'd hang up the phone. I wouldn't trade Ty Smith straight across for Raquel. No way. Nice. I don't think New Jersey is a fit. Let me bring up New Jersey here. New Jersey, he's kind of everything they need. They already have. They got a lot of big guys that are softish. They need grit in New Jersey, I would say. And I don't think Raquel really gives you that. I'll tell you, LA Kings. Although I don't think they like doing it within their division like that, but the LA Kings will probably need a winger. You could probably get a first out of them. Nashville Predators might be stupid enough to do it, even though they shouldn't. If they're still in the playoff race, I could see them doing something silly like that. This is tough. Columbus Blue Jackets won't be in it. New York Rangers, nah, they wouldn't have traded Buchnevich if they were going to get somebody like that. It's funny, I don't see much of a spot for Raquel. Unless they're going to retain a lot. Toronto Maple Leafs would be great. If they, by that time, they might be able to fit him on the cap. I think it would be Toronto. Is Toronto going to trade their first again? Toronto Maple Leafs. I don't want to trade Ty Smith at all. Like, I want a big package of picks for Ty Smith. Ty Smith is a very, very good offensive defenseman. Yeah, who are their core, really? They don't really have a core. They're so nondescript, it's crazy. I agree, Lauren. I don't know. Like, personally, for me, you'd have to give me a crap load for me to trade Ty Smith if I'm New Jersey. There is no identity to that team. Not at all. They have no identity whatsoever. You've nailed it on the head, Lauren. So I would just keep on drafting. I'd trade all your veterans away and then bring in another veteran that can maybe that can maybe start giving you some identity. That's it. I think that's it. But I mean, sure, if I'm Anaheim and you want Raquel and you want to give me Ty Smith, they don't even really. It's not even their area of need. But I would do that in a heartbeat. I would do that in a heartbeat. I think for Ty Smith, Anaheim would have to give up their first to get Ty Smith. Because Ty Smith, if you're like, you'd be happier than heck to get Ty Smith with the first round pick, even if it's, which Anaheim's probably not going to do because it could very well be, right. So Yeah, I'm a little higher on Ty Smith than you are. And I'm not very high on Raquel. Although if Raquel got on a good roster, it could be all right. I'm going to put this in my title. This seems to be, what about Madden, Grands? That's LA, right? LA's first is probably not going to be that low. It's in the ballpark, but honestly, Helge Grands, he's got a long way to progress. Madden's probably a third line center, a small third line center, a middle first and a second. Let's put it this way. None of those things are going to turn out to be a defenseman as good as Ty Smith. I don't really need Madden. Madden's a smaller forward. They already have guys like that. Grans, I did like him. I think LA picked. I thought that was a good pick by LA, but no, I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no. You want Ty Smith? I want Turcotte. That's how much I think of Ty Smith. I want Turcotte plus. And they don't really need centers, so now I want something big. I want big. Anaheim, I want your first. If you want Ty Smith, I want your first next year. Because that could be right. So yeah, I'll do that. But maybe I'll do that. I don't know. I like Ty Smith a lot. So yeah. Just suck for the next 2 years and get guys like Wright, Savoy, and Lambert. And then if you start either Kapari or Kaliev, maybe you got, because maybe you start opening the conversation up a little bit. What did you ask for before? Kaliev, Grans, your first, yeah, something like that. Change Madden to Kaliev, maybe. But I really like Ty Smith, so if you already got Zegras, so if you got Wright, you're set up the middle for years probably. But in the meantime, their future would be good if they do that bad. They got to do that bad. They got to be bad this year. Let's face it. They have to. They got to get that top three. It's going to be between Anaheim and Arizona as the worst team in the league this year, I imagine. I don't care. You want Ty Smith? I don't care what I got at that position. I want the best. Ty Smith is the best they have at that position. So you want that, then I'm going to give you a defenseman that put up almost a point a game for a lot of last year, is going to be bigger and stronger. You want a defenseman like Ty Smith? I'm asking for a winger like that. That's what I want. If you don't like it, then I don't need to make the deal. If I'm New Jersey, I don't need to make that deal. The only reason why I make that deal is if I can get, and I still don't know. Even if you offer Kaliev for Ty Smith, like you said, they've got Holtz coming up, although Holtz didn't have a strong year last year. Defense is what New Jersey needs most. They might. I may not even take it for Kaliev. So that tells you how valuable Ty Smith is to New Jersey. So you better come up big on an offer because you're prying Ty Smith away from New Jersey. There's no reason for them to trade him. You're trying to pry him away. They have all the leverage in the world. They don't need to trade him at all. I'm not so sure about Luke Hughes. We'll see. He's got a lot of growing to do into his game. So next year the Devils will let Subban go probably. How the heck do you spell proposal? Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. Luke Hughes may be better than Smith, but I mean, Smith is way ahead of him as of right now. Hughes probably won't be ready for at least 2 years or so. So it's a position of weakness for New Jersey, even after picking up Hamilton and Graves. Macamadulin could be really good there too, but I said they don't have to get rid of him. And LA doesn't really need that either, to tell you the honest truth. I wouldn't do that if I was LA. Not because I like Ty Smith, but because, like you said, Kaliev is a fantastic prospect for them, and they need wingers really bad. So if I was LA, I would go see how this lineup does. And they're so thick up the middle with Velarde, Turcotte, Byfield. They're going to be able to trade from the most powerful position there is with Kopitar, Danault, Velarde. Velarde can play wing, but Turcotte and Byfield, they can trade from the most powerful position they have to acquire a winger. That would be interesting. Like, that will be interesting to see where they get their winger there. And I bet you they trade one of those centers to get it. They could probably pick up 2 wingers with 1 center there. I would say that, I mean, go to Columbus. They don't have the greatest wingers there. What's a team that's really weak up the middle, but is still a strong team? Colorado Avalanche. Like, you got somebody like Turcotte, like, that's still on an ELC. So it would fit under the cap space of a lot of teams. You could do a killer deal there. A killer deal. You could probably get Beauvillier and Brock Nelson. No, you don't need the center. That's the thing. I'd have to think. Let me think about this for a bit. Minnesota. You could trade Turcotte to Minnesota and probably get Greenway, and I love Greenway. I would do that. Greenway and Fiala. Add a pick or something like that. Greenway and Fiala for Turcotte or Byfield and a pick. Then that roster would be absolutely stacked. Yeah, I think you can find that. I think they can. I don't know what their prospect pool looks like now, but you might be able to get in that too. Like, you've got Byfield, Turcotte, all of those guys. You could probably get a defenseman and a winger for one of those guys. Like, center is the most sought after position out there, and they're stacked up the middle. LA is totally stacked up the middle. You could probably get, Jesus, too bad Minnesota already lost Soucy. You could have got Soucy and Fiala. But now I'm not sure. They're not really stacked on defense now. It's so valuable to have guys on ELCs that can be like star players in the league and have a bunch of them like LA does. Like, you can fill in any hole you want to from your wing and defense with that. It would. You could probably get, if they finally decide to realize that they need to rebuild, as long as Forsberg's willing to re-sign, you could probably get Philip Forsberg and Dante Fabro. That's how big it is to have, like, because their center position is horrible. If they finally decide to rebuild, you could probably get something like that in Nashville. But Fabro's a right D. Yeah. Matthias Ekholm. Ali Toivonen. Ali Toivonen, Matthias Ekholm, if they're not going to re-sign him. And probably a really good prospect, which you don't really need, but something like that. Yeah, you can say whatever you want, but where is he going to play? You got Dano. What about Byfield? Trade Byfield. You going to trade Byfield? No. Who are you going to trade? You're going to play them all up the middle? Is he going to play wing? Where's he going to play? Just because when you're going to trade for position, you are going to trade a fantastic player. Yes, that's for sure. You're not trading players just because you don't like them. You're trading players because you want a better position. You need to fill in at a position. Okay, well, they're going to play Turcotte on the wing, then I guess you don't need to worry about it then. He was a center in college, so I didn't know they were going to play him on the wing. Alex Turcotte, they have him they still have him as center on Cap Friendly, but if he can play wing, and we're playing hockey, my friend, hockey Simps. We're talking hockey. We're talking LA Kings right now, but we talk about all teams. Put your anybody on TikTok or anything, put a trade proposal down there, and we'll discuss it. We're discussing trade proposals and how to better a team. He played wing. If he can play wing and he's willing to play wing, then I guess you don't need to worry about anything. What did he play, left wing or right wing? Just put Byfield up there. They had Velarde on the left wing there a while, and I thought he looked really good. You're going to play Turcotte on the left with Byfield and Kaliev. Okay. Well, then you don't need to worry about it, because then you put Danault on the third line, expensive third liner, but he can. What would that be? Then you don't need to worry about it. Danault, probably that line of Danault, Kempe, and Arvidsson would be your third line. But if you're wanting a defenseman, then go trade. You probably don't need Velarde then. I love Velarde, but you could probably get a good top four defenseman for Velarde. You're a Vegas fan? All right. Well, give me a trade proposal. So if you're a Vegas fan, give me your trade proposal on TikTok there. Then Velarde, trade Velarde. What, you're not going to need him in that situation. You could play Velarde with Danault, but if you're looking for a defenseman, you're going to have to trade someone, and it's probably going to be a forward, unless you decide to trade your first next year, which is possible too, depending on how good of a defenseman you want. One of those guys is going to fall off. And I imagine Velarde would be it. I think there's a lot of value in Velarde. Hockey Simps, give me a trade proposal for Vegas. They need a second line center. Tell me how they're going to get a second line center there, big guy. Or you want me to do it? Do you agree with that, Hegnine? So let's see where we can trade Velarde then. What the hell? I'll tell you what. I mean, Velarde has how long left before how old is he now? 22. He's going to be a restricted free agent at the end of this year. So he's going to get a raise. Huge value with Velarde. Huge value. So I would go there. You're looking for a team that wants to stay under the cap. They want to get younger. Look at Pittsburgh, maybe. And you want a defenseman. And you want a left defenseman, preferably. And probably a younger the defenseman, the better. First one that came to mind was Pittsburgh Penguins. Brian Demelin, 29 years old, 2 more years at 4.1. You might even be able to get a little more out of that. I'm sure they would be more than happy to get somebody like Velarde in Pittsburgh for Demelin plus. What do you like about that? Well, it's going to cost you your first next year. You might, I don't know if you'll get Demelin for that. I like Dolan Anderson too. You got to be careful with Velarde though, because if you're playing Velarde on the third, you're going to be playing Velarde on the as a third line center. Third line center for Velarde, which is okay for now, but down the road, I'm sure Velarde doesn't want to be paid like a third line center. Velarde's going to want to be a top 2. So if you're going to play him there, you have to realize there's a pretty good chance he's not going to want to sign long term with you. I think if Colorado trades Girard, it's going to be for a second line center. They're not going to want picks. You want to trade prospects and stuff? If you want to just trade first, what kind of prospects are you talking about? Give me some prospects. 2 first rounders. It would have to be like somebody close to being ready for Colorado. They want to win now. They're not collecting picks and stuff. So they're going to want to win now. You got to give them something that's going to help them right now. If it's a prospect, it's going to have to be a prospect that's ready to play right now. Let's say if I'm Colorado and you're coming to me for Girard, a guy who is a top 2 defenseman on most teams in the NHL on a $5 million a year long-term contract, just a beautiful contract like that. I want at least Velarde plus. I want to, because they're trying to win now, right? Now they could take your picks and try to flip them somewhere else, but they're probably just going to be able to get a second line, a good, solid, young second line center for Girard anyways. So, I mean, Iafallo, not interested in Iafallo myself. Dolan, Jared Dolan. I like Jared Dolan, but do I like him more than what I already have? Probably not. I want Velarde, at least Velarde plus. Velarde plus. That's what I want, because you got to think about what if. Okay, put Girard out on the open market right now. Just say Girard is. How many teams are going to be clamoring for Girard? If Girard's out on, if they make it known to everybody that Girard is there, New York Rangers will be offering up Heidel plus, probably for Girard. That's just off the top of my head. I'll look here. Cap friendly. A young defenseman like Girard that can play right now, that's on a gravy contract, man, you can pull like some crazy return from that for sure. I bet you the Carolina Hurricanes for Girard, as they stand right now, you could get Teuvo Teravainen at 5.4. You might even be able to get Jarvis. You might even be able to pull Jarvis out of them for that contract. Or Jack Drury. You could probably get Jack Drury and Teravainen or something like that. I would give it up for Girard. A $5 million a year contract, a right defenseman. They could use a right defenseman too to play with Girard and Slavin as your top two. Woo! Hello, baby. I would be freaking all over that, man. Yeah, there would have to be a rebuilding team, I agree. That would probably be it if you're just going to do it for picks. It's getting a little light on the rebuilding teams here. What's wrong with Demelin? He's 29, but I mean, it wouldn't cost that much. You wouldn't need to give up that much. Trocheck, I like yeah, but Trocheck's got to be re-signed. So as long as he's able to re-sign, maybe that might be okay. Drury and probably a first too. Trocheck, Drury, and a first, probably something like that. Yeah, like I said, I would take Demelin. I don't see what's wrong with Demelin for that. But are you looking for a power play guy? Because Pittsburgh will be rebuilding right away. But I don't think you're going to get much else from Pittsburgh besides Letang would be too. You probably could get John Marino. You don't want Matheson. Look for teams that are just on the borderline of rebuilding. Wow. See, it's pretty tough. Pretty tough. A GM's job is pretty tough, isn't it? Not too many teams out there that you are willing to give up. Defensemen are the hardest things to pick up too. The Philadelphia Flyers are not rebuilding. They're going to hold on to everything they got. Yeah, like I said, you might be able to get Ekholm. You might be able to get Ekholm from Nashville. Slim pickets, my friend. I'd be targeting Demolin from Pittsburgh. You could probably pick him up. Besides that, you wait till the deadline and you see which teams are totally out of it. Sometimes you get like surprise teams that you think are going to be good, but they realize that, you know, this core isn't working or something like that, and they're going to turn it around. But goes to show you how tough it is to be a general manager, because there's not much out there. You might be able to get Riley, apparently. I don't know what Toronto would have for defense if they gave up Riley. But you might be able to get Riley, yeah. That's the only reason why you would, that's a good point. The only reason why LA would go after Riley. Hey, how you doing, whoever's there? We're talking hockey here. Thanks for coming in. Doing a whole LA session here because we have Hajin Alexanian. Yeah, that's the other thing, is that LA doesn't really have to go for it this year. So there will be free agents, but if you let them go to free agency, you may not be able to get them. I don't know. Might be a good idea to give Ekholm a look. See if you can sign him before the free agent market opens up. Fowler or Lindholm? I'm not saying they won't, but I guess apparently for Manson, it would take a first-round pick and a prospect to get Manson. So you give up your first next year and a really good prospect. They're going to want a prospect that is really good. Not really, really good, I don't think. I don't know. I don't know. I would like, it'd be interested to find out what Winnipeg was planning on giving up for Manson, and Manson turned it down. Bill, you have a feeling that Minnesota will not be great this year? I don't know why I have that feeling too, but I really shouldn't, because Evason is such a great coach. I find it hard to believe that they won't be great just because of that alone. To me, it's sort of like the Islanders of, you know, they shouldn't make the playoffs. They shouldn't have been making the playoffs a lot before this. But with Barry Trotz there, you almost always have to have them making the playoffs. Yeah, you could wait and hope you can get Ekholm next year. That being said, apparently Nashville is working on a deal for Ekholm. I don't know why. Why would you do that? I have no idea. Apparently, Ekholm wants to be a middle-of-the-road team for the next however long. They're just waiting for the Askarov to come in, I guess, and save them. Yeah, I think Cam Talbot will be okay, though. I think he will be okay. I know when he was in Edmonton, he got his confidence back, and when he was in Edmonton, he lost his confidence because they lost so much. Then he went to Calgary, got it back. If I was a betting man, I'd say he's going to do well. Yeah, they greatly overachieved because of fantastic coaching, though. And, I mean, they do have Fiala. If you look at that lineup, it's not bad. It's just the second-line center spot is like, woo. Now, if Rossi, from what I understand, Rossi's going to be ready to play this year. And he is a special kid. That Rossi may change everything there in Minnesota. That's the big question mark for me. Greenway's going to be way better. And then you still got Eck. But when it comes right down to it, top 50 players in the league? Okay, let's do that. We'll do that tomorrow. I got 10 minutes here, so I can't. That would be tough to do. You know how long it takes to do that top 50? My gosh. I'm afraid of Edmonton. I think they'll outscore people enough in the playoffs to make it in, though. But their defense worries me. For sure. Polo Better. How you doing, my friend? Talking hockey here. What else we got next? Who else we got in here? I'm concerned about Edmonton. That defense worries me. Yeah, like nobody played well defensively last year except for CC, and that was in a system that is very defense friendly, which is also why I'm not sure about the Demelin deal either. I don't know how well he would do outside of that Sullivan system. I think he'll get 160 as long as he's healthy. 160 points. 150 plus, I would bet money on. Over 150. Yeah. Top 6 Drysdale. Is it the best in the league? McDavid maybe makes it that way. Because of McDavid, maybe you could say he's that much better than everybody that. You couldn't trade McDavid. There's no way. The team, the team wouldn't have anything left. I don't know. It was pretty much next to impossible. If you traded McDavid, whatever, the team would just have to build around McDavid. They would be in a rebuild from McDavid out because they wouldn't have anything left on their roster. Oh my gosh, way more than that, dude. 115 points? Oh, he's going to crush 115 points. McDavid is going to crush, unless he gets injured. 115 points? Oh, gosh. What? Tavares is going to be over 140 points? I think he'll be a point-a-game player. Yeah. It's a tough market to win in. It's hard to get players in Edmonton. That's the thing. I would love to know be behind the scenes and see what else they had available to them, if anything. The North Division has bad defense. You mean the Pacific Division? Yeah. that's why they should get out of the Pacific really easy. It's going to be the playoffs that's going to be difficult for them. They should get out of the Pacific pretty easy. I hope for Foligno's. I think Foligno's a third line winger now. I don't know if I'd say dominate. If they're going to play him on a second line center position, he's playing a little over his head at this age and place. And that looks like what they're planning on doing, because Marchand's the best player on the team. Yeah, Boston will be a stronger team. I don't see them as a playoff contender or a Stanley Cup contender. Not with that defense. McAvoy's great. Carlo is good, is very good, but and Riley was a nice pickup, but I mean, would you put that defense as the top half of the league? I don't think so. Now, the goaltending could save them, though. But when it comes to the playoffs, that defense ruined them last year, and they never really improved it. No, I wouldn't put their defense as the top half in the league. Now, they could do something to better that defense, I suppose, but... Yeah. Yeah, Boston would probably be in there for Ekholm for sure. No. No. On paper, Boston can't beat Tampa Bay, I would agree, in a 7-game series. That's kind of the measure right now. Can you beat Tampa Bay? For sure. But look at that. We're almost done. I like this trade proposal stuff. So you guys think about trade proposals for tomorrow. We're going to be on from 5:30 to 7:30. 7:30 to 9:30 Eastern tomorrow. Think about some trade proposals and come back with me. Big trades. Let's do big trades. Something like enormous, like Matthews or somebody like that. It's possible. It would be a good fight. After next year, it could start sliding for Tampa Bay for sure. Florida can still pick up some players during the season as well. Anyways, tomorrow, have trade proposals ready. That's your homework for tomorrow, boys and girls. Thank you very much, all of you TikTok people, for watching. I got to get going. I got to pick up the little lady and such. And it's been fun, man. 2 hours goes by way too fast. But it's a lot of fun. Have a great day, everybody. Talk to you tomorrow from 7:30 to 9:30 Eastern. Be right here, okay? Talk to you later, okay? Bye.